Hello, guys. How we doing tonight? Usually, when we have a small crowd like this, it's because everybody did well. So hopefully, you guys did well as well. Right? A little bit of repeating myself here, but hopefully, all is well. Definitely had a great week. It started off a little shaky with that Monday NFP. I believe in the review I discussed how it's been a while since I actually just even lost a trade on a Monday NFP, but it was a little harder. But that Tuesday and Wednesday got everything back and just had a great trade today, which we'll be reviewing here in a second. I did want to start on the weekly just because of how clear it usually is. So just like how when we're looking at a day's price action, we like to go to the 15-minute as our intraday time frame. Intra-month time frame, so during the month, I like to go to the weekly because it removes all the unnecessary, right? We see that on the weekly we are displacing higher just by looking at the previous week. What is the target? There is one. There is nothing else. It can only go there. And of course, bringing in additional concepts like, for example, premium and discount, right? You can see things like, oh, well, we disrespected this order block. And so now we can see that going into next week, I'm going to be expecting a continuation to this level. All right, so I just wanted to bring that in. Been a while since we didn't look at the weekly chart at all, but it was really great. Even just from a daily perspective, you had some clear insight. Of course, yesterday we took out this level, formed a retracement, but really on NFP, I like to frame my bias based on the news's direction, right? And this is all stuff that you can go, if you are right statistics users, you can go on the economic news analysis, look at NFP, and see how often we trend. How do you know what you trend? Well, you look at the 5 minute, 10 minute, 15, 30, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half ranges that are formed from that news event, and you see that you have a much higher probability of just reaching one level and continuing in that same direction rather than reversing. So just a little insight there. Same thing with CPI. These news usually form my bias. And today we had a beautiful framework from previous day low to previous day high. These days are a little harder on power of three and structure because they are trending days. So what do? You form the low extremely early, usually right at the open, and you trend in one direction the whole day. As I said, there is no real way that I utilize to notice trending days, yes, but specifically on NFP Friday, I just like to look at NFP's direction. And as you can see, NFP expanded higher. We formed a fair value gap from this level. And I've said this probably for the last year in price action reviews that when NFP or any other significant news forms a fair value gap, I use that as a higher time frame point of interest. And as you can see from today, as soon as we took out previous day high, just before the open, at the open, we had a Judas swing lower, showcasing a beautiful retracement into that fair value gap, and then we had a continuation higher, giving you a high probability long. Honestly, before then, I was clueless. I didn't have any high probability trades because I could frame both longs out of this and shorts to this level. So what do? Well, as I said, I wait for the news, and at the news, we expanded higher. When New York opened, we had a little bit of consolidation here with a lot of SMT on both sides. All we have to do at that point is wait. And the best marker for that is 10 a.m., right? Because we know it is an opening of significant importance. Why? Because we opened a new 4-hour candle, right? So we expect structure to form at this level of importance. There's a high probability of reversal. One of the big advertisers of this is Kane from the lab. If you know him, definitely a great trader and a great guy, but he's always advertising those 10 a.m. reversals, and they are, right? It's an important point in structure. It's an important point in time where we anticipate that, once again, I'm going to be repeating myself, but important structure to be formed. And right before then, we retraced into our NFP fair value gap that we were just discussing. Beautiful higher time frame point of interest that I can use, and of course it is not a higher time frame point of interest, but as I said, this is how I personally utilize it because it is of significant importance to the news. Also, we didn't have a retracement into the first discount and efficiency, once again because we did not need to, but we had a nice retracement into the discount of the current range. So definitely you would expect some high probability longs to form here, and as you can see, the first breaker block of the session, right? If I'm not looking at bearish breakers because I'm looking for long, the first bullish breaker of the session give you a beautiful inverted fair value gap entry. Now with your stop loss, you have your first PD array, fair value gap below is your second, and then you can use the inversion fair value gap or the fair value gap. But as you can see, I placed my stop at the inversion fair value gap. Is it possible to use right stats to determine the probability of the 10 a.m. reversal happening at certain times within the first hour of it, if it will happen? Do you mean like, for example, between 10 and 11, what are the highest points in reversal? Well, yes. And how I would personally go about that is by looking at the high and low of the AM session, right? The New York AM session, which is from 9:30 to noon, Eastern Standard Time, right? Which is currently UTC -4. You would look at when the highs and lows form. And if you want to see specifically when we have a 10 a.m. reversal, right? Well, what you would use is specific filtering. You know what? Fuck it. Let me open up Rice Statistics and just show you. I mean, I can explain it for hours, but might as well showcase it, right? So, sorry, I'm on my other screen, just doing it. Yeah, fuck it. There we go. All right. And let me just share that, make sure that is on the correct screen. I love how WAP added a dark mode to the connection. So now I have semi-dark mode when you log into Rice Statistics. So for this, we'll use the ranges analysis. We'll go to the New York AM session here. I didn't check yet, but did your Habs win? No, they did not. They did not. They were barely made the playoffs, right? They had a hell of a run to come back and make the playoffs, but no, they did not win. We actually had a lot of hope. Their goaler got hurt, but he just came back the next day with a concussion and goaled for the last 2 games, and yeah, it was pretty heartbreaking. But we didn't expect them to go too far. But if they could have won, it would have been crazy. Definitely crazy. But no, they did not. All good though. We'll get them next time. Well said. Well said. But yeah, just to showcase this peacock, I won't go into in-depth filtering, but I'll just show you specifically. So I'll focus on the extremes of the session, right? Because I'm interested in when the highs and lows form. Because for example, if I go back on my chart here, I need to press this. There we go. So if we go back on our chart here, I'm interested in, well, here, let's actually showcase it, and let's just bring the background here, and remove, okay, yeah. So this is our AM session, right? From 9:30 to noon right here. This is what we're interested in. And we're interested in when the high and low form. Because if we're going to have a 10 a.m. reversal, you want to see the high or the low of the session form between that 10 a.m. window. But let's say I want to know if it's specifically going to form between 10 and 11. When is it going to form? Well, I'm going to filter using specific extremes here. And I'm going to say, for example, here, we're going to say it formed from 10 a.m. to 11. And yes, in case you notice, it is now 5-minute increments. So it is a lot easier to mess around with, especially on smaller screens. Hope you guys like that update. But as you can see here, what I'm saying is that, well, now both extremes. I would prefer to look at them separately. So for example, do them one by one. So look at the high. Well, what if the high forms between 10 and 11? Okay, well, the highest probability by quite a bit is going to be formed between that first 15 minutes, right? That's going to be the biggest. And you also have a few here that are going to be formed right at 10 a.m. because as we said, we're bringing this filter, which means that it's only accepting 10 a.m. So this 9:45 to 10 a.m. window is simply 10 a.m. Still on the chart? Yes, good point. I'm going to get there someday. I'm going to get used to it. I was thinking of actually getting a stream deck, so probably being easier. But as you can see, I put a high filter from 10 to 11. And now I can see from this chart and this chart, which, by the way, these two charts represent the same thing, just visualized differently, what my highest probabilities are. Now you can see it's pretty spread out here, right? We're going to be honest. Of course, you can go a little lower and go look at 1 minute precision even. Honestly, let's go look at it. Why not? Of course, on this round chart, it's not going to be the best, which is why we have this. And as you can see, by far, the highest probability is going to be that first minute, right? So that right at 10 a.m. to see the reversal. You also have some spikes here at 10:03, 10:04, 10:05, 10:06. So really, in the first 10 minutes are going to be the highest probability to make that high. And then if I want to look at the low, I'll remove the filtering on the high. Of course, you also have the little reset filter here, if you want to just use that separately. And then I'll look here 10 to 11, right? We said. And now instead of looking at the highs, because now I'm analyzing the lows, I'm going to look at the lows and see that it's approximately the same data that we can see, but here we have a significant spike at 10:15, 10:20. So if we are to form the low, we could look at anything before 10:20. But look, if we are bearish and we expect a high to be formed, then we'd be looking really at the first 10 minutes specifically. So see some pretty nice insight here, and it's really just using the specific extremes filtering. And as you can see today, we would be looking at a 10 a.m. reversal. Now, of course, it wasn't really a 10 a.m. reversal because as you can see here, 10 a.m. open and we just expanded. So it might have not have been the best showcase, the best time to showcase it. But we had a very nice reversal here right at the start of the 950 to 1010 macro. Had that breaker form, clear entry. Now, the only thing you're missing is clear targets. Of course, you can target the current high of day that we just formed right here, but it doesn't offer enough risk to reward here. And we have nothing clear to target to the left. So what do we do in cases like these? We refer to standard deviations. And see, just targeting 2 standard deviations, 1.9R, gave you a few scares. I'm not going to lie, I took this trade, and as soon as we traded close to it here and had a deep retracement, I trailed my stop to break even. So there, I expected a break-even day, to be honest, since price was so high resistance. It was consolidating a lot, but it still was a very good long. So I didn't want to close it out. So I just went break-even, and I said, you know what? If it closes me out, then it closes me out. I had alerts set on my phone, and I just took profits manually. As you can see, even after having a hard time, reached your partial. Then if you weren't break-even yet, you would go break-even and see price ran and actually formed a high of day almost right at that 4 standard deviation line, which was actually my second take profit. So pretty amazing in terms of precision today, but definitely a very nice trade, offering plenty of risk to reward. Just a little longer than I like to see them, right? It's rare that I'm in a trade for so long. This is for that return, right? So 4 hours and 40 minutes for 3.67 R. That's not a lot of money for time, right? This is how I always calculate, by the way. I always look at how much money am I making for the amount of time I'm spending. I really like that metric. But definitely still a very good trade. I did also want to showcase the only other opportunity that I would have considered, which is a lunch trade, right? Looking for lunch high, well, in this case, lunch high to be rated. So you'd be looking for lunch low to be targeted. But the truth is you didn't have a good entry anywhere. Now, on this one, you had no opportunity. For me to consider taking a short here, I would have to see price retrace to my first premium in efficiency, which it did not, and that would have been my entry for my other trade. Now, you might have been looking at this breaker block and seen this unicorn, which is a unicorn, right? So entering here is a mechanical valid setup. For me, I have a rule, and that is a rule that is also on my bot, is that if it already does the move without me, and see how close we were to lunch low here, which would be my objective in this case, at least a partial objective. Basically, having no entry until that part just invalidates the trade for me. If you did take this trade, right, you have an inversion fair value gap here, and the fair value gap above, which places your stop all the way up here. And as you can see, not to lunch low, but further down, you would have had plenty of return, right? And just even targeting this intraday low, I mean, looking at price to return to a discount of the current daily range, you would have had plenty of ample opportunity. Just for me, these are not the types of trades that I like to take. Another right stack question. Is there a way to determine probabilities of the high of day? Seems like if we could determine that, we could project 20 to 30% retracement. What do you mean by that? I guess in today's case, they'll on trade from high. Oh, okay. Yeah, so yes, you can, actually. I'm not going to reopen it because I actually fully closed it. But if you go to the same analysis, the ranges analysis on the first dashboard, you'll see all the metrics for manipulation, distribution, but also retracement. So that is the move that results from forming the higher low of day, pretty much. So basically the difference between the higher low of day, so if we're looking at a bullish candle, for example, the retracement would be from the high of day to the close. And if we're looking at a bearish candle, the retracement is from the low of day to the close. So you have metrics about the retracement. And of course, if you're interested in the probabilities, it's the same charts we just looked at. But instead of selecting the New York AM session, you're going to select the daily standard time or daily New York time. If you guys are wondering, one is from midnight to midnight and one is the standard time, depending on the asset, right? So for our indices futures, the market opened at 6 p.m. Sorry, and closes at 5. For most crypto, it's 8 p.m. Start. So 8 p.m. to 8 p.m., 24-hour trading assets. Some various different ones. If you're wondering, Speacock, you can just look at the little help icon you're going to see. And yes, I know I'm on my charts, but you have a little help icon next to every title, which tells you the exact times of the sessions you're looking at. Pretty detailed stuff we have up there in Race Statistics. Definitely. Do we have any other questions, right? I mean, it was a pretty straightforward day for me. I just long and held, sorry. You still had a short opportunity, but as I said, this is not a trade I like to take because we already expanded so close to my target. In this case, it is successful. I'm not saying I should have taken it because it is successful. I am quite happy with how I manage my trades, even though sometimes I miss successful trades. It doesn't mean it was a good trade in my book. And I mean, I'm not seeing any of you guys types. Definitely a smaller audience tonight, so probably less questions as well. Glad to have you guys with us, right? And of course, these are always recorded, especially on a Friday night. I expect less people to be there with 1 hour notice of a change of time. But you guys know me. Most PA reviews on Friday move to 5 p.m. pretty quickly. We just ended the week, right? It's time to take our weekend. Chill is the best word I can find for it. Recharge and get ready for the next trading week. Fair enough? All right, we're going to call it a day. As I said, you guys have an amazing weekend. Take some time off. Always a pleasure, Speacock, always. And we'll see each other this Sunday. Or classic. Well, this time actually not classic. It's going to be the monthly statistical outlook, right? So it's going to be a little bit of a longer one, and don't worry, I will announce it over the weekend to give everyone time to notice it. You guys have a great night and a great weekend. All right, see you all on Sunday. Bye, guys.